Well, I just wanted to start off, Jillian, if you would like to go first. I would love to know your first reactions when you were pitched the concept or you heard the concept of the story.
I think when I read the log line, I did something like that. And then I just kept going. And there were more gasps as I went on. And I felt like that to me is a juicy script. Like there was a scriptment for this. It was a little bit different. And the idea of being able to work with these brilliant actors and get to improvise, but we have, the scriptment to know where we're going and what the arc of every scene was. It was just such a joy. I mean, when do you get to do that? So I was in pretty quickly.
So Sarah Dina Smith, the director, and I wrote the movie together. So the original idea for the movie came from actually Sarah's longtime partner and now husband of 15 years, Shaheen. Sarah was a big fan of the movie Force Majeure, which was kind of based on the premise that this man, this husband and father, kind of there was an avalanche coming, and he bailed and left his family to potentially get buried by an avalanche to save himself, thereby ostensibly breaking the central tenet of masculinity, or that our internal interpretation of what masculinity is supposed to be. And Sarah was really interested in exploring a female version of that. So she asked Shaheen, she was like, we've been together 15 years. What could I do that would make you feel like you married a dud? And Shaheen was like, I don't know, maybe if you dropped a baby. And so that was the original idea. So she shared that with me, and I thought it was a really stupid and amazing concept to base a movie around. Just because if it happened, it would make people feel a lot of things and analyze themselves and analyze all the people around them in a whole different way. So that was kind of the spark.
There's no way that happens and within your friend group and you don't go home that night having the conversation of like, what would you do if that was me? And I found that so interesting. And when at the beginning of the scriptment, it describes all the different characters. I'm like, well, what are they going to think? Are they a baby dropper? Are they not? Like, do they think they're too good for that? So I found it fascinating.
Yeah, well, kind of in line with what you were both saying. I mean, there are usually emotional issues at the center of a dark comedy, which is what makes it a dark comedy. So, Josh, I mean, was there something that was particularly important for you to convey to the audience about relationships or parenthood when you guys were writing up the script?
I think in every comedy that I love, there's usually some pretty deep existential exploration that's going on underneath, which I think is kind of what you were talking about. And on this movie, there was, we had just gone into a pandemic. My mother had just passed away. Sarah was very ambivalent as to whether she wanted to have a child or not. So as creatives, like, all of this stuff kind of went into the conversations, and hopefully the movie shouldn't feel like that, because it's only a comedy if you can kind of like process that through the absurdity of life filter. But yeah, no, there was some real exploration that went into that. And by the time we were filming, Sarah was 8 months pregnant.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, she made her decision in the process of writing, and now has a beautiful young son.
Well, this technically wasn't scripted, and I know that you said a lot of it, some of it was improv. So, can you give just a little bit more insight into what that looked like as an actor, as a writer?
There was a pretty detailed scriptment. So what would you say, Josh? It was about 45 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so enough to get to know the characters, the arcs of the scene, like where we're headed. And then what was fun is Sarah sort of set up these meeting sessions where we would workspace sessions. And at the time, obviously now we're still doing over Zoom. So we were doing it over Zoom and getting to know each other and figuring out why, what would get them to these points, each character. And I love that. It's nothing loses or wins. It's sort of just, let's throw everything out and what we're thinking and see what sticks. And as an actor, it's sort of dreamy, because to get your own thing made as a writer, creator, producer, anything can be very difficult, and especially now. And I feel like with this, it sort of goes, okay, we trust our actors enough to help us tell this story and figure out who these people really are. So to me, it was probably a little bit of a leap of faith for them, or maybe a big leap of faith, but I think it pays off, because then you get something that's totally original feeling.
Yeah, I will just back that up and say it's the process of doing an improvised movie. You prep as much as you can, but then so much of it is just a trust fall for everybody involved, for the actors, for it is a living organism, and the hope is that in the process of it, you'll catch this lightning in a bottle and really catch people bringing the best of themselves and the most spontaneous of themselves in a way, and making the lines better and truer than you could have ever written them. And I think with this group of actors, we were just so fucking wildly fortunate with every single actor in this movie to have people who showed up and took these sketches of characters that we'd come up with and embodied them and humanized them and gave them history and gave them inside jokes and gave them real hearts and flesh and blood, and so it's a really cool thing to experience.
It's really cool too to because there are so many wins when you can do that, but there are also some big fails. But it's cool to have a space where you feel safe to just create and trust that they're going to look after you, not only in the scene, your partner's going to help you, but also, in the edit. It can be so many different movies. So it's really, by the time we were going to see it, a lot of us for the first time at the Tribeca Film Festival were like, what's the movie? What's the movie going to be? We went in so many different directions that you're like, who knows what's going to make it? And that's the most exciting part.
Right. Well, thank you guys for chatting with me about the film. I'm gonna have to wrap, but again, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.